Hello and welcome back to the Jag Lifestyle. Klarna, buy now, pay later. Let's talk about it.
Right now, you've got a shopping cart somewhere online and you are about to hit buy now, pay later. More and more of you are doing this. And is that a problem for the economy? It turns out that sometimes people are stacking loans, meaning they have like multiple Affirm, Klarna, Shopify, whatever out there on top of their credit card debt. And that is phantom debt. Economists don't really know how much of it is out there in the economy for a variety of reasons. This week on the assignment, I've been talking to the CEO of Klarna. Check it out. When I learned you could basically Klarna your DoorDash burrito,
Yeah.
I was like, that seems unwise. Like, why
And
even offer that option?
yes, and that is unwise. I would not recommend anyone to put a burrito on buy now pay later for clarity. But it is also partially because Klarna in the US has become very associated with buy now pay later. So when US consumers think about us, they think about buy now pay later. But if you look at Klarna in Europe, we are an equivalent of PayPal. So we offer both debit-based payments, where you pay the full amount upfront, and we offer credit-based payments where you pay in installments or even finance like bigger ticket items for longer periods of time. And obviously, we have realized that in the US, there's an opportunity to offer a better debit solution as well, where people can pay the full amount. And that's what we have done with DoorDash and others.
When you think back to that 23-year-old, could he or would he have used Klarna? Because when I think back to when I was 23, I can actually remember going to an ATM and there being so little there that, like, I had whatever threshold there was, like, I couldn't take money out. And boy, did that impact my choices and how
For
I
sure.
did spending.
I
Right now, that wouldn't have happened to me.
No, that's totally right. But I also remember when I used to go on the train and I didn't have any money on my debit card, and I would be able to swipe it because the card readers at that point in time weren't connected. And I would end up with an overdraft fee that was
Right.
twice the price of the ticket. And at that point of time, to have given me interest-free credit would have saved my life. And we know that there are consumers that like this interest-free credit to them is actually a very, very attractive option to other alternatives.
Now, the CNN reporter, she was able to speak with the CEO of Klarna. Klarna is who recently reported, and let me just read this so that I get the numbers correct. But Klarna said its net loss for the first 3 months of 2025 totaled $99 million, significantly worse than the $47 million loss it reported a year ago. Now, the CNN reporter, she was able to speak with the CEO of Klarna, and they're actually reporting that they're financially healthy. In addition to doubling the losses, at first it was rumored that the company, Klarna, may be going out of business or it may be filing for bankruptcy. And then the internet kind of went wild with it. But it seems like now they're doing some damage control. There are lots of different articles now where they're coming out saying, no, Klarna is not filing for bankruptcy. Klarna is not going out of business. Klarna is also reporting that the losses that they have for the first quarter of 2025 said it was due to several one-off costs related to depreciation, share-based payments, and restructuring. This article that I'm referencing here also states, and this is from CNBC, it states as it comes as Klarna remains in pause mode regarding a highly anticipated US IPO that was set to value the SoftBank backed company at over $15 billion.
Buy now, pay later. It's like the old school installment loan. You pay for a quarter of whatever you're buying up front, and then you've got installments, usually 4 payments in total. So you make one now, and then if you pay those next 3 installments off, it's kind of a great deal. There's no interest, no worries, no problem. Okay, what if you don't make those payments? That's what Klarna has said. They said, oh, there are a lot of people who are using these plans. They're not making those next 3 payments. You can be subject to interest and penalties and fees. Could be a few dollars, could go up to 25%. So I think that a lot of people like the idea of buy now, pay later, but essentially it is the same trap we often can get into with credit cards. We can spend more than we intend to, and we can actually see fees if we're not paying these off on time.
So do we think that what's happening is a lot of 20-year-olds are saying, look, here's a way to get 80% off sunglasses. You just buy them, pay this little fraction, and walk away.
I don't want to just throw shade on the 20-year-olds because all of us have that moment. Because when you check out online, you know that it immediately says, do you want to pay for this all up front or do you want to spread it out over time? So we're all falling for this. I think the problem is, as always, that if we look back 5 years, we went through this COVID crisis, we built up our savings, the economy reopened, we spent through all those savings, and people still want to spend.
Yeah.
And credit cards and buy now, pay later plans, they allow you to spend freely, but with a huge catch. You are going to get spanked if you can't pay these loans back.
Now, when we talk about the news that was like spreading throughout the internet about Klarna going bankrupt, I mean, people woke up, went to bed one night, woke up the next morning, and bam, here's this news all over the internet. So let's see some of the reactions.
Klarna is pretty much going bankrupt because no one is paying them back. Like, they have a record high number of users on the platform. They have 100 million users. But at the same time, no one is paying them back. So they literally reported $136 million of unpaid debt. Like $136 million that people are just not paying back, and they're just, saying fuck it. And now Klarna is at a major loss. Even though they have a record high number of users on the platform, there's more users who are just not paying that shit back. And that's because you guys are letting people finance groceries and finance DoorDash orders. And I feel like people are seeing that and being like, well, actually, if I just do my biggest one right now and then not pay you guys back, I actually am just not going to have to pay you guys back. And then I don't know how much people actually care about things affecting their credit. Like, I don't even think they're thinking like, oh yeah, like this is going to affect whatever, blah, 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 blah. I just think people are like, whatever, I'm running off on the plug right now. Like, literally people are running off on the plug, dead ass, with Klarna. They said, actually, yeah, I agree to all your terms and uses and all that. And they get their loan of whatever the fuck. And they say, yeah, but I'm not paying you back. And now Klarna is literally about to go bankrupt because, bitch, nobody is paying them back. And, like, honestly, with inflation and how shit is really set up, how is that gonna work anyway? You see what I mean? But anyway, oh well, Klarna, we will see. This will be interesting to watch, I feel.
Interesting to watch indeed. The point that he was making, some of the things that I absolutely agree with. If you don't pay back these buy now, pay later, these short term loans, kind of sort of like layaway back in the day, it's kind of sort of the same thing, the same premise, the same concept. But if you don't pay them back, Klarna, Affirm, and many Afterpay, many of the other companies just like them, they will place those items on your credit report to say that you do owe the company. Now, Klarna has come out and has reported in the last couple of weeks or so since this story broke that, that they're not going bankrupt. They're doing some damage control. They're saying that they're financially healthy. They've given reasons as to why the loss in numbers, the restructuring, the business model and things of that nature so that they can apply for the US IPO so that they can be on the stock market. But the fact still remains that there's a lot of losses, that we're getting those buy now, pay later loans, and we're not paying them back. With the examples that this young man shared with us, you know, we, buy things, we have the option at checkout, buy now, pay later, we make a couple of payments, and then bam, we don't pay the remaining balance. So it is something to watch. It is something that we'll, definitely keep an eye on. But I'm interested to know how other people think. So let's see.
Klarna is not for the broke. If you don't have money for a purchase up front, do you think splitting it into 4 payments is financially smart? And let me find out you're not putting that payment on a credit card, making the minimum payment, racking up interest charges. It's now costing you more than what you were originally going to pay for. Please be smart.
I have spent $32,196.23 on Affirm and Klarna since 2022. And the big question is, what did I purchase? If you are new here, hi, my name is Diva and I am $107,000 in debt and I am the Affirm and Klarna girl. Yep. When I started this journey, I had $9,500 in debt to Affirm and Klarna. I now have it under $3,000 and we are about to pay off 8 of those suckers next week. But what did I purchase? This is a question everybody always asks. Honestly, everything under the sun. I have done groceries. I have purchased concert tickets. I have purchased Airbnb. I have gotten my car fixed on Affirm and Klarna. All kinds of stuff. I think I've even gotten gift cards for random stuff. You can pretty much purchase anything you want almost on Affirm and Klarna. And I do get questions like Affirm. Yes, I have 12-month plans. I have not purchased on anything on Affirm probably since last February, so it's been almost a year, and a lot of these are finally coming to the end, but also I've paid off a lot. I literally had like 50 of these when I started this journey in May. It's crazy. It's insane. I know what I'm saying is insane. However, I am saving my very last payment on Affirm. It was something that I actually don't regret spending money on. I regret financing it, but it was pretty big, and it was a once in a lifetime experience.
So that's another issue, right? She had 50 loans. But Klarna and Affirm and Afterpay, they've made it so convenient and so easy to get these short term loans. Some of them, like she mentioned, for 12 months, she was financing some of them for 12 months. So it all depends on what you're buying and what you're paying for. One of her purchases, she said that she regretted the purchase. So oftentimes maybe you need to kind of sit back, think for a couple of days before you make that big purchase. But people aren't just making purchases with these loans. Some of these platforms have made it easy that you can pay bills with them. You can, in some cases, I've seen stories where people are able to, make up rent payments, for monies that they don't have. So I absolutely agree when you're splurging, making those, like those quick decisions for, material things that you're purchasing. Maybe you do need to, just take a step back and maybe give yourself 24, 48 hours to think, do I really need this? Or do I just want this? You know? So that would probably help us with some of those buy now, pay later loans and keep some of us out of trouble as well to make sure that we pay them back after we've gotten the loans.
Question: how y'all fucking up Klarna? Come on, man. How y'all fucking Klarna up? Y'all, they gotta file bankruptcy because some of y'all ain't paying y'all money back. What do y'all be ordering at a time? You supposed to, whenever you do a Klarna, you supposed to do it either the day or the week after you got paid. I mean, they only collecting the money every 2 weeks. So that way when they collect the money, it's going to be during a pay week and you shouldn't even see that money. Because what are you ordering? Shit, y'all Klarna payment should be no more than $25. If that. Only time I really splurge on Klarna is if I'm buying me a purse. But don't mess it up for everybody. They got to file bankruptcy. So what's next? Afterpay? Affirm? The only reason why I don't like Affirm is because they be adding interest. But please don't fuck up Afterpay, please. I mean, well, that too. But Klarna is my favorite. Please don't fuck Klarna up. Pay y'all's bills. Damn.
Now, with her comments, she has a timing, you know. So with her timing, it works well for her lifestyle. Clearly she's used those different platforms before. the timing makes sense, right? So if you know that they're going to take the money every 2 weeks, if you have to buy a purchase, or if you need to, use any of those platforms for a particular reason, her timing method, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense to me, to make sure that they're deducting the money from either your paycheck, your bank account, checking savings, or whatever the case may be, and it's around your payday. You just have to make sure that you can afford it and you don't have any other bills to pay, anything else that's a necessity, food, shelter, insurances, things of that nature. You just got to make sure that, you've included that dollar amount in your budget. Something else that she mentioned that was really good was the dollar amount. Think ahead of time. Her number that she gave in her example was $25. So just think about, when you're ready to use one of these platforms, can you really afford either that, payment every 2 weeks, or if you can afford that monthly payment? You got to make sure that you have a clear budget to know how much you're able to spend. And, that will also help you to determine, do I really need this purchase, or is it a purchase that I just want? You know, that monthly payment, that payment every 2 weeks, is it going to keep you from buying food for your household, paying utility bills, paying a rent or a mortgage payment, a car payment, things of that nature, insurances, medicine, the usual essentials? Is it going to take away from, what you need to pay for? In her case, it was $25. So for her budget, that $25 is doable. So maybe take some of her advice, with the timing and with the dollar amount, before we get into more of these buy now, pay later loans with, any of the platforms.
And for those of you that have not been paying your Klarna debt, go do it now. Because tell me why I just saw a video of them filing bankruptcy. We can't lose it. Klarna is like our bestie. We can't lose our bestie. Go pay your shit now.
Well, in this case, we've already established that Klarna isn't filing for bankruptcy again, but this was, some of the news that hit the internet like early on in the very beginning, that they were filing for bankruptcy. So the CEO, and whomever else is, in the company that can speak on the company's behalf, they're doing a little bit of damage control. They've spoken with a few news outlets, and they're reporting that they're not filing for bankruptcy. And in fact, they are trying to, get approved for an IPO, which is on hold right now. Don't know why it's on hold. It may have something to do with the losses. How will the stock market, essentially react to this information that they've lost $99 million in the first quarter of the year? All of those things are vital when you're looking for investors to invest in your business. They're going to want to know what your profit and losses are, and those losses, to say that they've more than doubled, from this time last year, that's significant. That really is significant. So I don't know if that's the reason why the IPO is on hold, but I'm just guessing that in fact does have something to do with it. Now, this young lady, she does bring up a great topic. I've heard this conversation before even thinking about doing this video, before, the news came out that Klarna may be filing for bankruptcy. But let's take a look at her opinion and see what she says.
I made a video about how Klarna is keeping you poor and in a constant cycle of debt a while ago, and it recently started gaining more traction again. And I was confused as to why people were looking at Klarna all of a sudden. And then I found out that Klarna has reported insane losses after Q1 because people have not been paying back their loans. And it makes total sense, and it goes into what I was talking about. Klarna appeals to people who struggle with financial literacy. And there are many people who defend it, saying, oh, I purchased just plane tickets and that's it. The thing is, people who struggle with financial literacy they often struggle with lack of self-control. They go hand in hand. And so while you might be disciplined enough to only purchase a plane ticket on it, some people might see it as, well, I don't have the money right now. Let me buy my Amazon trip on there. Let me buy one Walmart trip on there. Let me go to Target. Let me go here. Let me go there. And the appeal is that you only have to pay a small amount at a time. So say it's $20 a month. The problem is when it's only $20 a month for one thing, then you start seeing it that way and start adding on. Oh, it's only $20 over here. Oh, it's only $40 over there. Oh, it's only $100 over here. And soon enough, your monthly payments add up to what you couldn't purchase in the first place. And while it is your responsibility as a consumer and an adult to be aware of this, some people were simply not taught, and it's not an excuse. But videos like mine and other people speaking about this help these people, because these are things that I struggled with and I didn't realize. At one point, I owed $2,500 to a firm, and it was all different monthly payments. I made the same mistakes, and I wish somebody had taken the time to explain it to me like that.
Now, this is an example of a young lady and how she used her Klarna. Just as I mentioned earlier, some people are using the buy now, pay later platforms to buy things for their home, for their house. Food is one of them. And here's an example.
Y'all really need to start using Klarna to get your groceries. Groceries are expensive, but I got all of this today for $55 because I used Klarna. So $55. I think the total was $222, and then I used the Klarna, and then I had a $5 coupon, and then it all came out to $55. So don't sleep on Klarna. It's not just for buying clothes or whatever else you use. You can use it on Instacart to buy your groceries. That's what I used it for. I just do the pickup method because I don't like them to deliver my groceries. I go and I pick it up. And it's easier for me to do it that way. I think it's $1.99 to do the pickup. For delivery, they add on all those extra charges that I don't want to pay for. But for $55 today to pick up all of these things, that can help me a lot. So if you guys never thought about it, look into Klarna using Instacart to do your groceries and pay in 4 payments instead of using all that money at one time.
Another great example of the wants versus the needs of using Klarna and other buy now, pay later options.
These pay in full installment apps got me in the chokehold. Because why am I over here trying to find a good app I can use to pay my groceries with? Now, I was this close to buying my groceries through Sezzle earlier, but they want a fee. They want me to pay like $7, and I don't have an extra $7 to give y'all. I was praying I can do it through a firm, through Walmart, but a firm don't let you buy groceries. Only like, I guess, furniture and all the big stuff that costs like $100, $200 or whatever. I think I seen where you can use Zip. Have y'all used Zip to buy groceries before? Because y'all know I'm on this debt payoff journey, but since these kids been out of school, I've been going to Walmart every other day to buy groceries. And I honestly can use my credit card, but I don't want to. I'd rather use a pay in full installment plan. So which one do y'all recommend? Because I got like some stuff I can cook for breakfast and for dinner. But I need some quick meals. These kids out of school. And I want like some meatballs, some Hot Pockets, some noodles, like stuff like that. Because they're not finna have me in the kitchen 24/7. And I'm so tired of washing motherfucking dishes. I wish I had a dishwasher. But yeah, y'all, let me know in the comments, okay?
Let me tell you something. I'm using Klarna to pay for these Chris Brown tickets. Yes, I am. I have no shame in my game. I don't care what nobody says. I will be front row. Watch me.
When I use Klarna, I make 4 payments. It makes me pay what I'm paying for. If it's $100, I pay 4 payments of $25. This is why you should never use Klarna or Affirm, unless you have the money. What you're thinking is, okay, it's only $100 and I'm only paying $25 for 4 payments, right? Except what that tells me is not only do you not have the money for that $100, you have a bad spending habit. So this isn't a one-time thing. If it's a one-time thing, that's different. But unfortunately, for a lot of people, once they start saying, I can finance everything, it becomes a habit of, I'm Klarnaing this, I'm affirming that. So watch this. So imagine I have these monthly subscriptions, right? So that's already 45 plus 14, $59. Then I did a Klarna Pay in 4 of $20. I did another one as well because I went to Walmart, and this one was Target. And then I did another Klarna Pay in 4. And lastly, I did an Affirm $50 for 3 months. Instead of paying just $20 for the 4 months, even though yes, Klarna might not charge you the interest, you're being robbed for 4 months or for 3 months or for that time frame instead of just paying it at once. Affirm does charge you interest. So instead of saving up for something you want, you're putting yourself in debt for something that's $100. You owe this to someone for that amount of weeks instead of being one and done. If it's something you want, save up for it. If it's something you need, that's different, and that's why you have an emergency fund. But like I said, a lot of the times for people, this is not a one and done deal. They don't just do the $20 a month. They do multiple purchases, and they end up owing to Klarna and to Affirm hundreds of dollars a month for one purchase, but it's multiple purchases added up. So yeah, you did a Pay in 4, but you did it 5 times. So instead of paying $20 a month, you're really paying $100, $200, even $300 a month instead of saving up for what you want. That's why this is dangerous. I've personally used Klarna and Affirm, and if you use it responsibly, it's not that big a deal. But a lot of people get into this habit of thinking, oh, it's only $20. And that's when things start to add up.
So, you guys, this was a great conversation. I do appreciate you staying and watching to the end. But I think it's an important conversation, within our community to kind of look at why people are using the buy now, pay later options. There's a lot going on in our worlds right now, and buy now, pay later seems like it's a way that people are, not just purchasing, the clothes and the shoes and the shopping and the purses and things like that. But we've had some really great examples to show that some people are actually using these options to help care for and feed their families. So if you could comment down below, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know why you use the buy now, pay later options. Let me know what your thoughts are on, Klarna and, them cleaning up, essentially what we all thought was going to happen at first with the bankruptcy. But it seems like they're doing some damage control, and they're coming back out and stating that they're not filing for bankruptcy. So let me know what your thoughts are. Thank you again for watching until the end. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.